I just want to say to you, I got so that I want to thank you guys personally for all that you've done for me, for always staying true to the genre of R&B, for being a true champion. You guys never flaked. You guys never like, like superimpose yourself onto the culture, and you never did it for clicks. You never did the whole clickbait thing. Like, you guys are so pure in your love and your authenticity in R&B. And that's why you guys are here, despite all of the racket and the hoopla and whatever, man. Like, I just want to say from one purist to another that your contributions to the genre will always be appreciated, will be forever ingrained in this time of R&B. And man, I look forward to celebrating many more years together in a sense of championing this genre. um we gonna see our day in the sun. You know what I mean? And y'all will be right there, and you guys will deserve it above any other publication. And that's not to issue on any other publication. I'm just saying that I've known you guys from literally day one. And so to watch your growth, your progression, how you've maneuvered throughout the industry and the business, the social stuff that we talked about before off camera, um, this is a true source. You know what I mean? And I don't know what that means to anybody else, but from Kevin Ross, this is one of the truest, most authentic sources of R&B. If you're looking for R&B from the past, the present, and who's going to be popping off in the future, this is the site. I got soul forever. Thank y'all, man. And I'm forever grateful for y'all.
I got soul here once again with Kevin Ross. Man, I was looking back, like we had first interviewed you almost 10 years ago. It's so crazy to think back and in your progression. And I remember that moment. Interestingly enough, it was at Essence Festival. We didn't really know you too well yet. I think you had just come on the Motown. And quite frankly, who knows if you would even have been here 10 years later, because so many artists just fall off the map. But man,
Yeah.
you're still going so strong. You've given us so much great music this past decade. Just before we start talking about the new music, reflect on this journey a bit if you can.
It's so humbling, man, in the sense that, like you said, you see so many people that come in with you, and for whatever reason, whether it's personally or whether it's their team, whether it's just, they may not have had the heart for it, fall by the wayside. And so to see where I am, is nothing short, but it's amazing. It's a miracle, to be honest. You know what I mean? And this is God engineered for sure. So that's what I'm really motivated by. It's just the fact that, like, this is beyond me. And, I know where I could have been, you know what I'm saying? And I could have just been one of them artists in a long list of names that, people quickly forget. And so I'm grateful, man. I'm grateful to have some type of long lasting, you know what I mean? Stickiness a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it, man. Love to see it, especially with a great dude like yourself who really deserves it. So talented. So much respect.
Thank you, man.
But right now it's all about Midnight Microdose Part Two, the new EP coming out this Friday.
That's right.
Part one was awesome. I haven't had a chance to dig into part two just yet, but
Yeah.
introduce us to that project.
Oh man, so Midnight Microdose Volume 2 is definitely more dramatic. It definitely has a wider spectrum as it pertains to emotions, storyline, subject matter. Um, and I'm doing something a little bit different. And so, of course, there's the regular track listing, and then the sixth track is called Midnight Microdose Volume 2, The Flow Through. And so I dedicated that to the loyal listeners, people that really enjoy an undisturbed experience within transitions, just the seamlessness of a body of work. So that, DSPs or, whatever that they're listening to it through, it doesn't disturb their flow. So it's
Right.
just it's a continuous play. And so I know a lot of artists that, wanted to do that before, but they just kind of wanted to just put out their album and just have one track. And so, I created a happy medium for DSPs and for, participating partners to say, okay, well, I'm going to give you the EP and the tracks in the way that you desire it. But I am going to create a caveat for those who are interested. And it allows for me to see who are the fans, right? Like, or who are the super fans of Kevin Ross. By creating this track, I can literally identify now to say city, place. Okay, so these are where these dedicated listeners are. And
Yeah.
so it's definitely something that I think that if it works out well, and for my peers who are watching, you're gonna see a wave of flow through in the next year or so. If it works out, no, it's gonna work out. I'm going because it's a dope process in a sense that
Yeah.
just straight through.
No, I love it. I love how unique and creative you're being with these projects. I mean, especially the fact that, you're giving us these smaller EPs, which I mean, we're in 2023. I feel like attention spans are so down. I
Oh yeah.
love receiving it in this dose, pun intended,
Yeah.
this small batch of songs. And so what inspired you to do that?
My fans, supporters, people that hit me on Twitter and Instagram, and they will always say, "Oh my gosh, we love your music. It's just so short. Can you
Yeah.
make these songs longer?" And I like kept thinking about it, and I was like, I'm a jerk. So let me go ahead and just really lean. Let me really lean into, um, just making shorter songs. And plus, it just works for DSPs as well. This is the time that we're in. Let's see what songs have replay power. And so, for me, Midnight Microdose, yeah, not only was it a great experiment, but it was also an homage to those who have been listening and say, I see you, I hear you, even on volume one. And I dedicated a whole infomercial to them,
Mhm.
where it's like, oh my gosh, Kevin Ross is so slept on. And it's like, no, I see it and I hear it too. It's just the fact that my perspective is different because mine is more so of the glass half full always, because I'm like, since 2013 or 14, I've been able to pay all my bills with doing music. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's a rarity. I understand how rare that is within the entertainment business. People don't understand how rare that is. And so for me, I don't take that for granted. You know what I mean? Yes, I want to get to a upper echelon, higher tier, of course,
Yeah.
because I'm competitive, and that's just what it is. But I can't ignore the fact that I've been blessed with an opportunity um, to provide, a roof over my head, put food on my table, um, by purely doing music. And so I can never take that for granted. And so with that being said, it's like while I wait for the for more ascension, I'm going to be grateful for what I have. That doesn't mean that I'm content, but it means that I can look at what I have right now and truly appreciate it for what it is. Because I remember when
Right.
I was making nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's special to hear you talk like this because I've interviewed many, many artists. A lot of them are like, here's the album. This is what I created. But hearing
Yeah.
you speak, it's like, I listen to my fans. And you think that's like what most artists are doing, but what I come to realize is many just kind of create. And if, and
Yeah.
if they like it, they like it. But you've mentioned multiple times, I listen to my fans. I heard what my fans are saying. What makes you really think about making that important when creating this music and doing this bodies of work?
Um, I've always had a vision for what my base would be. And I took that from off of Maxwell. I took that from off of Kim. I took that from off of Amazing Frankie Beverly. Like, so when I'm in my early 20s and I'm opening up for Max and I'm doing shows with Kim, and, my parents would take me to these Amazing Frankie Beverly concerts, what I would see out in the audience is that, it's older people, but I would see their spirits come alive. And I was like, wow, like I want that for our generation. I want for us to have music that can bring us back to a particular moment to be like, oh, I remember back in 2017. Oh, I remember back in, you know what I mean? I remember exactly where I was and what I was eating, what I was doing, who I was with. And so I know who I represent now. I represent the blue collar lovers. And
Right.
so for that, the nurses, the secretaries, you know what I mean? The 9 to 5, they need music where they feel like they're being seen and appreciated. Because right now it's just so like hyper driven off of like imagery and just like, okay, well,
Yeah.
we're sitting in a penthouse and this, and that, and I got a baddie and the baddie got a girlfriend and this, and that. And that's cool. That's cool to, to live in that, fantasize in that world because we're in entertainment. However, you know, most of my audience, they want to feel loved, even if they're not in relationships. They want something stable. They don't want toxic. They don't
Yeah.
want for their favorite R&B singers to talk toxic to them. They want to listen to songs that give them a glimmer of hope. And so as I've embarked on the journey, I started off very how do I say this? My music was a lot softer and
Hmm.
a lot more delicate, you
Yeah.
know, because it was really coming from a pure place, right? And so I really meant what I said with every record that I put out, and so the Awakening was a really vulnerable and transparent record for me, and it felt. I know to a lot of people listening to it all over the place because there was a lot of cooks in the kitchen. However, when I dissected, I was like, oh man, like I was really like wide open, And
Yeah.
so what I had to understand and take a look back to say, okay, my peer group, they're not there. They're not here in this place. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I needed to package my music in a different way. And so when I came back again as an independent artist, then we start to see and hear my music transform and start to go through a process to say, okay, what do you like? What don't you like? How hard do you want me to go? Where's the sweet spot? And then we started to find the sweet spot. And here comes Sweet Release, no pun intended. Sweet
Yeah.
Release and Looking for Love and all of these records where I can still have a delicate approach. But when you
Right.
listen to the lyrics, I'm like, okay, I'm talking that talk. So they start to appreciate that kind of flow. So once we got into a pocket, then it was like, okay, I know who I
Yeah.
represent. I know who I am to them. I know who they are to me. And that relationship is a constant ebb and flow of reciprocation between one another to say, I'm I'm not here without you all. You know what I
Right.
mean? I don't know what type of music I would be doing if it wasn't for them, for me identifying the blue collar lovers.
Right. Well, you talked a bit about the toxic, R&B that's out. How difficult is it to not chase that sound? Because I mean, personally, people like myself, many
Mhm.
people on my team, we don't really want to hear that. I mean, we want relatable. I mean, we want love music. I mean, then when you
Yeah,
hear a song like "Look My Way," which you gave us on the first part,
yeah.
amazing
Thank you.
love song. But how difficult is it to not stray from what you do and try to chase maybe that more popular sound?
As long as I'm able to pay my bills, I'm always,
Yeah.
but I mean, even if, you know what I mean? Because, you know, I was still doing the same thing when I wasn't getting paid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I would still probably be making, the music that I am creating because it serves a purpose and I am of service to a particular group of people. And then understanding like now I have vision, which I didn't have when y'all met me. Um, I can see 5 to 10 years from now. And I
Yeah.
see where we are to say, oh, my generation aren't ready yet. So when I look at it, I'm making music now for a small pocket to enjoy. However, 5 years from now, that pocket will grow, 10 times or, however many times over
Right.
because they're ready, right? They don't want to do festivals no more because their knees hurt and they want to sit down in the
Yeah.
and listen to music and dress up and you know what I mean, go with their significant other, look fly, feel fly, and have a great date night. And so I'm preparing a place. So it's not necessarily about the now, but about years down the road to say, okay, by the time that they get to me, I will be familiar to them. I may not be their
Yeah.
champion, but I'll be familiar. They'll be familiar with my music. So when they come to a show it's not like I'm taking shots in the dark. So as soon as they hear it, they say, "Oh, I remember that song. Oh, I don't know why this song sounds familiar." So by the time that, we rocking and rolling, it makes all of the sense in the world. And so
Right.
that's kind of where I am in the sense of, even with Drive 2, when I put it out in 2021 in October, when I went on Versus, shout out to Anthony Hamilton for having us.
Yeah.
The Versus effect happened to me as well.
Mhm.
You know what I
Wow.
mean? And so with that being said, let's just take an intro, for example. I did an intro, and maybe the intro, maybe it had been out for, however long, a couple months, whatever. And it was all of 40,000 streams.
Yeah.
And then 6 months later, it jumped up to 10 million, right? Just on one DSP. And I was like, this is powerful. So I was like,
Yeah.
just imagine if if I can couple more moments like that. I mean, of
Right.
course, Versus is unique, but the
Yeah.
thing is that if I can couple more moments together, then this will all really start to make sense. And so it's not about how new the music is, but it's like, if your catalog is strong, then they will come to the catalog and they will champion whatever records they want.
Right.
So, that's the game plan, and really staying away from toxic. However,
Yeah.
I got toxic moments. You know what I'm saying? And,
Yeah.
and on volume 2, we start off toxic because we ended volume 1 in a dark place. So I wanted to really create
Mm.
an arc, and say, okay, if we're gonna go dark, let's go there, but let's really, bring them out to clarity by the end of this. And
Right.
so, I think this is really going to be one of those records that, I don't know. Maybe it will be instant. You know what I mean? But I
Yeah.
do think that it's necessary for me to have it in the catalog, and that
Right.
if it doesn't make sense now, it will make sense later.
I respect that.
Yeah.
I got to point out something crazy about part one. I had a very hard time progressing past the intro, First Dose, just because I love it so much. This
Yeah.
like so hypnotic. The singing in the background. It's like you could put that on repeat and just listen to it like 100 times in a row. It's so hypnotic and good, man. I bet great project. Obviously, you have to progress, but it's like even little pieces like that, you just aren't really getting anywhere as an R&B fan. Which is I use that as an example to point out your creativity, even in
Thank
small samples like that. Just loving what you're doing for us here.
thank you, man. That
But I
means
got
a
to talk about I want to talk about your radio strategy. First of all, congratulations on your success at radio.
thank you.
First independent artist, two top 10 singles, adult R&B radio, huge
Mhm.
accolade. But what makes me, interested to hear from you is on we're not seeing a lot of artists even go that route anymore, pushing singles to radio. But for you, it's very important. You've had a lot of success there. What makes that, of an importance to you to do so?
Um, it creates a sonic signature, and it also gives more presence in the market space. And so, even if they don't see my face yet, when they hear the song, it starts to become a signature to say,
Yeah.
that sounds like that boy, Kevin Ross, right? And so, but then it also allows for me to say, even if my peers don't listen to the radio, promoters do. And so when promoters listen to the radio and they hear me a whole bunch of times, then I get the call. So I don't know. Let's just say I work, right? Like
Yeah.
I work, quite a bit in the sense of traveling, whether that's to Detroit, Chicago, Atlanta, New York,
Yeah.
Houston, Dallas, all of these places. I mean, even like we're going to Los Cabos, Mexico, but it's
Nice.
all because of radio. In a sense that it's taking me to these places because these promoters are like, obviously, like these people really like this guy, and we got to get him to this, particular place. And it allows for me to see a lot of the vets as well, because I'm right wedged in between like a sandwich. It's like you got the opener, and I have more of a catalog now, so I can't be the opener, but now I'm like right before the headliner. And so I've had really great experiences. Like I was in Aruba last year, and I was right before Mary J. Blige. You know what I mean? So that was like super crazy to me in a sense to watch that progression and be like, man, I remember being the super duper opener. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? When people were walking in the gates, now the whole place is full. And now I can look in the front and see people literally like rocking
Yeah.
with music, knowing it word for word. That's the power of radio. You can't fake that. You can't fake radio. You can fake streams, you know, but
Yeah.
eventually with radio, like, yes, come on, let's be real. Radio's not payola, but you do have to pay to play at
Right.
the end
Of
of the
course.
day. And so with that being said, it can only get you but so far. You're gonna hit a wall,
Yeah.
and you're gonna get this research back, and people and PDs are gonna be like, ain't resonating with it, or they
Yeah.
love it and keep going. And then you once you get into the top 10, because a lot of times, because I'm one of the only independent R&B artists, when I'm in the top 10, I'm the only one. So I'm
Yeah.
going against all these major labels, and I ain't got major label dollars.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's like a parking lot. It's like everybody's in a traffic jam, right? So you'll have a record at number one, and then one label's agenda will be like, well, we need to keep it for number one for another week.
Yeah.
How much would it cost for us to keep it for another week? Let's keep it on premium channel. Let's keep it on this. iHeart, can you chip in and
Yeah.
what's the exclusive? We need number one for another week. And they'll
Yeah.
go number one, and then it'll drop like a
Yeah.
hot
Yeah.
potato. Not unless it's like what's the Tim's record? What's the you don't need no other body. That record, Essence, that stayed around forever.
Yeah.
Those records are rare because it's like that's a true smash, right? But all the other records, number one, drop, number one, drop.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you gotta wait your turn. But how much funds do you have to wait? Because not only are you waiting 10 to 1, now you got 20 to 11 on
Yep.
your ass, right? Like they're waiting for their turn too. So you like, all right, well, cool. Like I'm right in the middle, but Adele coming, or somebody's always coming.
Yeah.
Beyonce coming. They're gonna skip the line. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So to me, it's radio is always a great barometer of how impactful your record can be to the masses. And there's nothing wrong with being a streaming darling.
Mhm.
But I think radio is still a proven medium to show that you've made it, in a sense that you can stream all you want, but once you hit radio, people
Yeah.
like, you out of here. You know what I mean? Like Daniel Caesar, her, all of these streaming darlings that was getting all of these numbers up on Spotify and Apple and Tidal and all that. But once they hit radio and once they were seen on TV, that solidified them to
Yeah.
say, okay,
Yeah.
this is who we were streaming, and da, 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 da. So it's still a medium that, it's just the fact that, let's be real, some people just can't afford it. And I would
Right.
rather us to have that conversation and say, look, I can't afford it.
Yeah.
Versus being like, no, we don't need radio. Radio played out. It's like, on the contrary, sir.
Yeah.
Because if you do enough radio, the shows are going to pay for the radio.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking us behind the scenes there real quick and sharing the real
my
insight.
bad, yeah.
No, because a lot of times we don't always know what goes on behind the scenes, what it takes. I do think about it sometimes. It's like you're parked at number 10. It's like, can I keep chipping in every single week, or just kind of give up on it? It must be a tough decision to make every week.
Man, yeah. I'm trying to tell you, but eventually, because of my consistency and persistence there, the goal is to be a kind of a fixture there, so that
Right.
when they see my name and they see a record, my process, it just moves faster. My record will move faster because I'm a, I'm one of them ones there. But also too, trying to transition in the mainstream as well.
Right.
And slowly but surely just kind of inserting myself in places, using satellite radio, and you know what I mean? Like creating different records with different textures to put me on different playlists as well. And just like meticulously chipping away at it in a way where, like I said, it may not make sense now, but it'll make sense later.
Right. Gotcha. I'm going to put you on the spot real quick. You've released a whole bunch of projects through the years.
Yeah.
To date, what is your best project that you've released?
Hmm. I mean, of course, everybody be like, well, all of my projects are my babies.
I feel like you can't even say The Awakening because that's kind of like
Nah.
almost like a cheating answer. But you can
Yeah,
if
it's
you
like
want. But
The Awakening is like I don't know how to it's like I don't know. It's not my favorite.
okay, fair enough.
Um Drive 2 is by far
Mm,
my favorite as it stands. And the reason why, I mean, obviously because I think it's my most successful EP to date, um, or project to date. However, um, I really wore my producer hat a lot with it. So Sweet Release produced, written and produced by me. Looking for Love, written and produced by me. And shout out to my boy Chase Farley as well, because he helped with Looking for Love.
right.
But a lot of I mean, more than 50% of the album I wrote and produced. And I really stepped into that space. Shout out to my guy, Jaron Spruill, aka Jay Kitts, who helped a lot with Audacity, co-executive producer of their project. We were having a talk, and he was like, he's like, yeah, man, because you a producer. And I was like, nah, I'm not a producer. I don't produce. He's like, bro, he was like, let me just sit you down real quick, bro. He's like, do you know how many producers don't have a number one record? He's like, bro, you got a number one record that you wrote and produced. And I had to sit with that. And I was like, you're right. He's like, bro, it's not about like the level or whatever. He's like, you are who you are. And that's what makes you you. Like, you ain't gotta be me, you ain't gotta be everybody else who identifies as a producer and have these certain things in their track and tags and all that stuff. Like, bro, you are who you are, and just embrace that. Just embrace the uniqueness of it or the quirkiness of it. Whatever it is, it's working. And I was like, yeah, so that's what really gave me that confidence. So I was the most confident, and then of course I think Midnight Microdose, of course, is second because it's
Yeah.
it's where we are now, and I'm in a instinctual stride in the sense that I don't have time to question, you know what I mean, like what's coming out,
Right.
and that's due to my baby, you know. My baby boy is almost 10 months old.
Oh, congrats, man. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. So I don't have too much time anymore to really sit and ponder, be like, I wonder if I add this high and I change all that's like, yo, baby boy come home in 2 hours. What we
Yeah.
gonna do? You know? And it makes the process a little bit more like enjoyable in the sense that it's like, does this feel good, Kevin? All
Yeah.
right, let's leave this be for a second, come back to it tomorrow, see what you instinctively add to it, or just leave it alone. And that's what made this process my second favorite, but by far
Right.
it was my all-time favorite.
That's dope. That's
Yeah.
dope. And I can share with you from experience. I have a 4-year-old now, and that's why I don't do these interviews as much, and my team does
Understood.
them because less and less time every year that can,
Indeed.
it gets tough, but you gotta love parenthood and fatherhood. It's an amazing thing.
Absolutely, man. And congratulations as well, man.
No, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
I'm just here trying to survive.
Amen. Amen.
They didn't warn me, but I'm still here.
They never warn you, bro. They never warn.
Yeah,
No matter how prepared you think you are,
yeah,
you ain't prepared.
exactly.
You,
Well, let me ask you one more thing, before we get out of here. And I'm just, in the beginning, I talked about how we interviewed you many years ago, almost
yeah.
10 years ago. What would Kevin Ross in 2023 tell a young Kevin Ross back then, almost 10 years ago, like what he should
Oh,
do differently, if anything?
jeez. I would grab that. I would grab him by his collar so quick. I'd be like, get over here. Let me holler at you for 1 second, bro. I'd be like, and look at him dead as I'd be like, do you know who you are? Do you know who you are? And not even like in an arrogant way, but just like, don't forget who you are. Don't forget why you're here. And what you have is enough. What you have is enough. Don't go chasing. And if anybody tell you to chase, drop them
Yeah.
before they drop you. But I mean, honestly, I would definitely put in his ear, understanding his worth. You know what I mean? I would be his champion and say, yo, you got it. Like your sound, everything that you're doing, bro, it's right. It makes sense. Go through the process. You're going to fine tune and everything, and you're going to experience whatever you're going to experience, bro. But just know that like you're right. You're right. And I'm sitting here 10 years from now. It don't look like what you gonna think, but you were right.
Yeah.
And you're not poor anymore. So congratulations.
I love it. Oh man. No, that's awesome, man. Hey man, young Kevin Ross definitely was doing something right.
Yeah.
He made it all the way here and still going strong. So, you know, no, I love it, man. Thanks for sharing that.
Yes, sir.
Well, Kevin, I want to thank you again for your time. It's always a pleasure doing these interviews and speak with you. Because, like I said, I truly admire your music. I listen to it often. I hear so much music, but I always find myself coming back to yours a lot of times. So thank you. Looking forward to hearing part two coming out, this Friday. And
That's
you
right.
always got our support, man.